Happy Sunday, everyone. This is June 19th, 2022, and I will be speaking on the model of critical thinking that I've chosen, which is storytelling. Now, storytelling um, will help your students and yourself to um, impart truth. It'll also teach your students or invite your students to think for themselves and create their own truth. And this is done um, with the help of coming up with interpretations, supporting supporting your interpretations with reasons. When you do this, this is called critical thinking. You're doing you're acting out what critical thinking is through storytelling. A story that I've chosen to share with my students, if I were to teach this to students, is the story of a Greek king named Midas. Here, and this is a story that, you know, will definitely create critical thinking in your students because they'll be able to um, state what is the moral of the story or what was happening in the story with King Midas, and then also we can relate it to your students' own personal um, experiences. They will enjoy sharing what they've wished for. So, with the story of King Midas and his golden touch, that's the story that I've chosen uh, to to share with students and just create critical thinking. So, with the story of King Midas here, um, King Midas, he was a wealthy king, as we all know with this story, very wealthy king in Greece. But he wanted more. He had a daughter named Marigold, and he adored his daughter. They had a wonderful relationship, according to the story. They had a beautiful father and daughter relationship. But this King Midas was very, very um, uh, into wanting more, and his greed surpassed his contentment for what he already had. So here, a wise God appears to King Midas in the garden, in his garden, and approaches him, and he's talking about all that he would like to have, or he started discussing his wishes with the wise God, and his wish was to have more gold. He was a wealthy king. He was very wealthy. So he wished for more gold. He wished for so the God gave him the ability to touch whatever he touched would turn into gold. Now, with that happening, whatever he touched, he found out that whatever he touched definitely turned into gold. And he got to a point where he was touching everything. And the roses turned to gold. Um, if he touched the table, that turned into gold. So one day, he happened to, he was happily going along, turning everything into gold because, like I said, greed set in. He wanted more. That was his wish to have more. So his daughter came up, grabbed her dad, hugged him. She turned into gold. Oh, that was too much for him to bear. He became hungry. So he said, well, let me go inside and grab something to eat. Well, he soon realized that whatever he touched there was going to turn into gold. So whatever he ate, that turned into gold. He soon found out he wasn't very happy about that wish. So he soon regretted his wish. He grew resentful of that wish because it was no longer benefiting him. So he had to have a talk with the God, the wise God. The wise God reappeared, check on him, and he let the God know, I'm no longer happy with my wish. Everything I'm touching is turning into gold, including my daughter Marigold. He felt he had a wonderful relationship with his daughter. He did not want to lose that. And everything else that was turning into gold, he could no longer use. He was growing hungry at the same time. So the God said, okay, well, I'll return your abilities. You'll have to, in order to turn everything back to normal or return back to normal, you'll have to water it, put water on these items, and they'll turn back to normal. So he gave him the instructions. He went to the river, got some water, sprinkled it on everything that he had turned into gold. He went and sprinkled it on his daughter. That was for him, for King Midas, that was ultimate, ultimate wish he wanted was to have his daughter back and be able to talk to her and hug her and kiss her again and just share moments that he knew he would lose had she remained gold. So what I could teach this, so I could go over this story with my students. I could ask questions. I could ask questions of my students. Mind you, I teach grade level of kindergarten. So they would love this because while they're thinking about what made King Midas happy, what he wished for, they could raise their hand quietly. Say, I could ask them, well, what did King Midas wish for? That'd be the first question. What did King Midas wish for? I'd have a student raising his hand or raising her hand. She would tell me, or they would tell me, well, he wished to have gold, to have a lot of gold. You might get a student saying that. Well, he wished to have a lot of gold. Okay, and then I could say, okay. Well, once he got that, once he was able to receive all the gold in the world, was he happy? You'd have another student raising their hand. They may say yes, he was happy. And then I say, okay, well, did he continue to stay happy, or did he become sad? And then you have students saying, yes, he was happy, but then he was sad because, and then they would state their reasoning on why the king became sad. And you'll have several different answers because the students are going to try to remember what they learned in the story, what things made him sad. Then to bring it on home, you could then pose those questions to your students by asking them, what did they wish for? Or what have they wished for in life? And they'll tell you, oh, I wished for more toys. Or I wished for more cars, little toy cars. Or I wished for more family. Or I wished for whatever their likings are, And they can tell you what they wished for. Then you could ask them, well, once you got all your dolls or all your toys, did it make you happy? They may say yes. You ask for them, you wait for them to raise their hand. They'll give you their answer. They'll give you their interpretation of what they've learned so far in the story, be able to relate it to their own life, and then tell you, well, yes, the dolls made me happy at first. And then they'll proceed on to state why it made them happy. They'll also want to tell you why it didn't make them happy after a while, if it made them sad or if it, frustrated them. Maybe they've gotten too much of something and maybe they may not have a place to store all of those things, but they'll tell you. Kindergartners love to tell you what's on their mind, and it creates that critical thinking within them, and they'll have fun and they'll enjoy telling you something about their life and something about what they wish for, and then you can go on to share your own personal story. So for me, I would share the fact that when I graduated with my master's in 2020, I wish to have all of my family around. And I wanted that because it was such an important time in my life, and I had just these thoughts of, oh, I'll have all kind of family gathered around. They'll help me celebrate. I'll go off happily with my degree. Well, that didn't work out like that in 2020. The day of my graduation, my siblings, sister-in-laws, and other family, they gave me a verbal congratulations, but they didn't show up. I was sad that day. I was walking around moping. Didn't quite appreciate who I had in my corner and who was my true support system that was already there in the flesh, in person, very close. I had my mom and my dad. I took them for granted that they would always be there and that they were there. My bonus person was my fiance who was there. But my wish, though, was to have a lot of family around, or all of my family that was in town to help me celebrate. That wasn't the case. So my parents and I, we met up with my fiance. We had lunch, and I was okay. I was happy enough. Definitely very happy to see my fiance. Had my parents with me. I knew that they've made sure through my whole from kindergarten all the way to college. They were there. They were backing me. They encouraged me. They were my number one supporters to make sure that I finish everything I started. Make sure that I get through school and things of that nature. And my fiance just finished encouraging that sentiment. So at the end of the evening, when my parents and my fiance and I were all sitting and just kind of reflecting on our day, my mom and my fiance said at the same time, I was like, oh, I wish everybody could have been there. It would have been nice to have everybody. And at the same time, simultaneously, my mom and my fiance said, you had who was meant to be there, and you had who you needed to be there. And I'm here to tell you, I'm very thankful that they were there. The moral of King Midas, the story here, the moral of that story resonates with me more than anything. And it is to be content with what you have. And to also be careful what you wish for. In King Midas's experience, he wished for more gold. It made him happy at first, but then it soon made him sad. And in my case, I wish for more family to be there for that on that special day, or what I thought was a special day. It was close and dear to my heart. But I failed to appreciate the ones who were there. My parents, first and foremost, and then my fiance. So, I take this story very hard to heart very much. I definitely, this is a story to share and to remind yourself every day. Be content with what you have. Be thankful for what you have. Because there's going to be a time when you wish you had been more thankful, been more appreciative. And you won't have that time to tell anyone, well, I'm thankful for this, I'm thankful for that. I am very grateful that I have my parents to think because to this day I think about who all were there for my important days. You know, so the model of storytelling is a wonderful one, and you can have your students. Dis- it sets up for a great discussion because your students can talk about the story you're sharing with your students that they're supposed to learn and be able to discuss it and break it down and share their thoughts, interpret the story the way they need to, share their own truth, things of that nature. But then you can also make it relatable and help students share their story, share their reasoning on it. You gain some deeper insight with what you're learning. You can relate the story you're learning about to your own story, compare the two, and just see where all of that just falls in. So yes, the story of the storytelling model for critical thinking. Mm, that's a good one. That's a good one. So I just want to end this with the moral of the story being be content with what you have and be careful for what you wish for. King Midas and I learned that for sure. We learn something very very valuable in our lives. So I want to end here, and I thank you for listening. and we will talk again. Bye bye.